Sometimes you miss the bus, and that's bad. Other times, you don't miss the bus, and that's bad too. Life's funny that way. One thing that's not funny, how bad many of my fellow Seattleites drive. First up, more people that should have tried harder to miss the bus. This one starts off-screen, but it appears that the driver of the red car runs a red light. They get punted hard and sent right towards a group of pedestrians that have to scramble out of the way. Here's a University of Washington bus at a four-way stop. It appears that the van entering from stage left does not stop, and they end up spun around by the bus. Little known fact, if you collide with a UW vehicle, they actually take a full point off of your GPA. Although to be honest, that driver doesn't really seem like the college type anyway. Top of your screen, this driver should have given side view mirrors the old college try, but they didn't, and they get bodied by a bus instead. I still don't understand how a person can fail to see something as large as a bus. And it's not just buses that are at risk from Seattle drivers. Keep an eye on this gray car. It looks like they just forgot to keep steering midway through the turn. Really no idea how they managed that, but they ended up taking out a tree and a bus shelter. Thankfully, no one was waiting for the bus when this happened. We've got a few more drivers who managed to crash without any other vehicles involved. This dark-colored SUV is heading up the hill when they lose traction and end up hitting a pole. That's the third SUV driver to crash in this video, and not the last. Your challenge today is to count how many SUV drivers cause crashes. I'll give a shout out in my next video to a few people who get the right answer. Now, I'm not a car expert, so if it looks like an SUV, I'll probably count it as one. And if folks are off by just one or two on their answers, I'll probably still count it as correct this time around. We'll call it grading on a curve. This one's a little harder to see, but this SUV driver makes a right turn onto Michigan Street and then immediately steers into a power pole, as you do when you're a moron. Speaking of morons, keep an eye on this car. Like some kind of brain-dead guided missile, this driver aims at a power pole and lets fly. Now this is a wild spot. I've captured several shootings on this same camera, and in this video we have 2 more crashes at the same intersection. Watch this SUV as the driver turns left over a raised median, hits it at just the right angle, and ends up stuck on their side. It's just beautiful. One headlight on top of the other, like stacked beacons of shame. It's like a lighthouse, just warning people away from the rocks of idiocy, currently occupying the left lane on Aurora Avenue North. On the plus side, made it a lot more difficult for this driver to flee the scene. Okay, one more from Aurora and 103rd. You can see that the light at the intersection is red, but for some reason the driver of the red car doesn't seem to see it, and he collides with a left-turning vehicle. Can't say that I'm surprised, but the driver and passengers of the at-fault vehicle end up bailing on foot and fleeing the scene. After 3 crashes at Aurora and 103rd, we now have 4 crashes on the Aurora Bridge. Keep an eye on this car approaching stopped traffic. They just plow right into the back of that line of stopped cars. Next video, similar scenario. The driver of this gray SUV is cruising along, not a care in the world, not a thought in their empty head. Just like the last driver, they're going to plow right into that line of stopped traffic without even slowing down. Okay, this one's a little harder to see, but it appears that a vehicle is stopped behind the bridge, kind of hidden from view. A few cars swerve at the last minute, but the driver of this white SUV just barrels into it. No obstructed sight lines, no reason at all these crashes had to happen. One more from the Aurora Bridge. I saved the best for last. This white SUV is moving quite a bit faster than the traffic around them, which means when the driver of a tow truck decides to switch lanes, the driver of the speeding vehicle has no chance to avoid them, leading to a high-speed crash. The speeding vehicle continues up the hill for some ways before swerving off into the curb. Looks like that driver barely has control of the vehicle, but they do manage to pull it over. Here's a quick slow-motion replay. Look how close this came to a head-on crash. This could have been much, much worse. Surprisingly little damage to the tow truck, although the Audi came out a bit worse for wear. No serious injuries that I'm aware of, but a good reminder not to drive like you're on a racetrack. Excessive speed also a factor in this next crash. Go ahead and watch the top left corner of your screen. We're going to see a speeding vehicle whose driver ends up losing control. That car goes on and off the road several times before hitting a power pole at very high speeds, finally coming to a rest on the train tracks. Numerous people stopped to help, but unfortunately the driver, a man in his 30s, died on the way to the hospital. Thankfully there was nobody else in the vehicle. Now just 2 days later, at the very same spot, the driver of this silver car is trying to change lanes, but they somehow don't see a bright yellow taxi next to them. They swerve away, overcorrect, and end up smashing head-on into another vehicle. Thankfully that other vehicle had been stopped in the turn lane, so the impact wasn't as severe as it might have been. We have some more questionable lane usage here, where an impatient driver decides to use the turn lane to speed around stopped traffic, but they collide with another driver pulling into the turn lane as well. Same situation here. One driver tries passing the turn lane while the other driver fails to check for traffic before moving over. One last lane change. Watch this driver traveling in the bus lane. Although they are thick-headed, they are not a bus, so they decide to move over, but they cut off this truck, which does not have time to stop before rear-ending them. Although it looks like the truck might not have stopped in time even without being cut off. Let me know what you think in the comments. Of course, we have no shortage of Seattleites ramming into the back of each other, almost always caused by inattention. I'm not sure what this SUV driver is doing, other than failing a basic IQ test where the only question is, where should your eyes be while driving? And the only answer is, on the goddamn road. Watch the bottom of your screen here for a hard multi-vehicle crash on SR 99. Luckily, no secondary crashes despite the speed of traffic in the other lanes. After a while, the drivers actually made a smart choice, and they all pull over onto the shoulder. One more rear-end crash. This driver is almost certainly looking at their phone, because when they notice traffic next to them moving, they just hit the gas without looking up and crash into the vehicle in front of them. For shame. Alright, I'm not sure how much overcompensation you can fit into one vehicle, but here's a red pickup truck with bullhorns on the hood and a driver who seems completely oblivious to what's going on around him. Here we have another angle showing that if the white SUV hadn't taken the hit, the pickup truck driver probably would have killed that pedestrian in the crosswalk. Now to his credit, the pickup truck driver did pull over and check on the SUV driver, but I don't know what the hell he was thinking here. Maybe back home, on the range, there's no other traffic to worry about, but you still need to watch for cows, right? Our left turn fails continue as we return to Aurora Avenue on the northern edge of the city this time, and a driver that makes a left turn directly into the path of oncoming traffic. Here's another crash at the same intersection. This time we have a hard hit caused by a red light runner. That impact just barely missed the driver's door on that red car. Now the driver that ran the red light stayed briefly on the scene, but then they got back into their car and decided to flee north into the lawless wasteland of Shoreline, a place where even brave Seattleites fear to tread unless they need to make a Costco run. Of course, we have plenty more drivers running red lights. We'll go first to 5th and Madison, where the driver coming toward the camera appears to have a red light. Different night, same spot, same scenario. That SUV driver causes a hard crash by once again failing to stop at a red light. Moving now to 4th and Jackson, watch the bottom left corner of your screen for a car driver that runs a red light and gets flipped upside down. Maybe that'll teach him to pay attention, but probably not. Same spot 2 days later, and this white SUV driver gets spun around after running a red. Thankfully, they weren't sent into that pedestrian waiting at the corner. Traveling now to the 1st Avenue South Bridge, where the light at the intersection is red. This SUV driver does not even slow down, and they get hit hard by a stupidly large pickup truck. On the right side of the screen, you can see the Union Pacific Railway's S50 job working the industries along East Marginal Way. Sometimes if you get lucky, or unlucky depending on your point of view, you can catch the train crossing East Marginal from Argo Yard. You get a really good view if you're first in line at the stoplight. Just make sure you're not pulled too far forward because those things will take the front off your car and not even feel it. I have a ridiculous amount of train footage on traffic camera, but every time that I try to make a video out of it, I get interrupted by more car crashes. And of course, we have a few more car crashes to watch today. Bottom right corner of your screen, we have a red light runner trashing what looks like a classic 1999 Toyota Corolla, a fine, fine vehicle that met a sad end. Heading downtown, watch the intersection at the top of your screen where a high-speed red light runner causes a nasty-looking crash. We'll go now to 5th and James, home of our favorite pole. The driver coming down this hill runs a red light and gets bonked. Thankfully, they did not hit those pedestrians in the crosswalk. Down now to Rainier Avenue, where this driver runs over a curb to exit the AutoZone parking lot and then crashes directly into an oncoming vehicle before fleeing the scene like the piece of trash that they are. Guess we can see why they needed to go to AutoZone in the first place. Slightly further north on Rainier Avenue, we have another driver who fails their most basic driving duty and runs a red light, causing a crash. I hope all their ice cream falls off the cone moving forward. Bottom of your screen, we have an alleged DUI driver who goes left of center. They clip another car before swerving into the curb and flipping all the way over. Just a terrible, bad person. Okay, our last crash is a reminder that Seattle drivers truly do come out of nowhere. That gold SUV driver earns a gold medal in being an idiot, something I'm sure they've been practicing for their entire life. My sincere hope is that they can't afford another car and are stuck taking the bus from now on. Or maybe one of those little Lime scooters that gives you a head injury when you crash it. Anyway, that's it for today. Here's a little treat for those of you who made it all the way to the end of the video. This is the Lake Union 4th of July fireworks from a few days ago. As always, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate all the views and thoughtful comments. My sincere hope is that these videos encourage people to examine their own driving habits. So please, slow down, put down your phone, and drive safely. I'll see you next time.